Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode, the Dixiecrat party. So I know I'm filming this. It's not on December 24th. It is December 20th. But on December 24th, I have a flight, and I'm just filming this in case the flight gets delayed. So this is Christmas Eve theme because it is December 24th when you guys are watching this video. So this party is the shortest one I take out of the entire list, as it only lasted for 4 months. Introduction. The state-right Democratic Party, whose members are often called Dixiecrat, colloquially referred to as the Dixiecrat Party, were the short-lived segregational states' rights and old Southern Democratic political party in the United States, which was active primarily in the South. It arose due to a Southern regional split in opposition to the National Democratic Party. After President Harry S. Truman, the leader of the Democratic Party, ordered integration of the military in 1948 and other actions to address civil rights of African Americans, including the first presidential proposal for comprehensive civil and voting skills rights. Many Southern rights politicians who objected to this course organized themselves as a breakaway faction. They wished to protect the ability of states to result on racial segregation. Its members were referred to as Dixiecrats. It's related to Dixie, referring to the Southern United States, and Democrat. In the 1930s, a political realignment occurred largely due to the New Deal policies of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. While many Democrats in the South supported sustainable economic intervention, civil rights for African Americans were not within the New Deal agenda, due to impact of Southern control over many key positions of power within the United States, the United Congress. Supporters assumed control of the state Democratic Party and power and full in civil service. They opposed racial integration and wanted to retain Jim Crow laws and other aspects of the jury and de facto racial discrimination. On non-racial issues, they held hereditary beliefs. Truman was never re-elected in 1948, but actually wasn't really never. It was 303. After the 1948 election, they did return to the Democratic Party, at least for a time, although the Dixiecrat weakened Democrat identity among weak white Southerners because of the Democrats' South. Senator Strom Thurmond, the leader, actually switched to the Republican Party in 1964 in opposition to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Background from the Civil War ending to 1948. Since the beginning of Reconstruction, Southern white voters supported the Democratic Party by overwhelming margins in both local and national elections. The few in substance include minor pockets, electoral in Albuquerque, East Tennessee in particular, Gillespie and Kendall counties of Central Texas, forming what was known as the Solid South. Even during the last years of Reconstruction, Democrats used paramilitary insurgents and other activists to disrupt and intimidate Republican Freeman voters, including fraud at the polls and attacks on their leaders. The electoral vote violence communicated into Democrats regaining control of the state legislature and passing new constitutions and laws from 1890 to 1908 to disenfranchise both blacks and many poor whites. They also imposed Jim Crow, a combination of legal and informal segregation acts that made blacks second-class citizens, confirming their lack of political power through most of the Southern United States. The social and the economic systems of the Solid South were based on this structure. Although the white Democrats retained all the congressional seats appointed for the total population of the states. Three-time Democratic presidential candidate William J. Bryan opposed a highly controversial resolution at the 1924 Democratic National Convention, which was about the the KKK. Bryan disliked the KKK but never publicly attacked it. Okay, this one's hard to read, so yeah. In the 1930s, a political realignment occurred largely due to the New Deal policies of President FDR. While many Democrats in the South shifted towards favoring economic intervention, civil rights for African Americans were not specifically incorporated with the New Deal agenda. Due to in part to gain outspoken champion of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, his wife, and supported approaches from the administrative black cabinet. During World War II, Jim Crow was indirect challenge. More than 1.5 million black Americans served in the U.S. military during World War II, where they received equal pay with serving as segregated units. While equally entitled to receive various benefits after the war, the vast majority of African American veterans were prevented from accessing most benefits due to in part to Southern success in Congress to have benefits administered by the states instead of the federal government. Tens of thousands of black civilians at home were recruited into labor-starved war industries across many urban centers in the country, mainly due to the promotion of Executive Order 8802, which required defense industries not to discriminate based on ethnicity or race. Members of the Republican Party, which was with the candidate being Governor of New York Thomas E. Dewey in both 1944 and 1948, along with many Democrats from the northern and western states, supported civil rights legislation in the deep South Democrats in Congress, which had almost unanimously opposed. Southern Democrat ideology on non-racial issues were heterogeneous. Some such as feeling outright supported the tenets of the New Deal. Others such as Henry F. Byrd, Storm Thurmond, and Rosie Fielding as white. The candidate Storm Thurmond became a Republican in 1964. The Dixiecrats started the weakening of the Solid South by Democrats. This referred to the Southern Democratic Party control of presidential elections in the South and most seats in Congress. Partly 3 decades of this fascist are blocked and turned by Southern state legislators between 1890 and 1908. The Republicans of the Little Right movement in the South also turned against blacks. Blacks had formerly been aligned with the Republican Party before being excluded from politics in the region, but during the Great Migration, African Americans had found a Democratic Party in the North, West, and National Democratic Party more suited to their interests. 1948 presidential election. This one's only 15 times, unlike the last one. After Roosevelt died, Harry Truman established a highly visible President's Commission on Civil Rights and issued Executive Order 9981 to end discrimination in the military in 1948. A group of 7 governors, including Storm Thurmond of South Carolina and Fielding Wright of Mississippi, met to consider the place of Southerners within the Democratic Party. After a tense meeting with the DNC chairman, Truman confidently Chairman and Truman confident J. Howard McGrath, the Southern governor, agreed to convene his own convention in Birmingham, Alabama, if Truman and civil rights supporters emerged victorious for full term, and a plan proposed by Northern Liberals headed by Hubert Humphrey calling for civil rights. a lot of 35,000 delegates walked out. The move was to remove Truman's name from the ballot in 7 U.S. states. This political movement required the organization of a new and distinct political party, which is 7 defectors from the Democrat Party chose to run as a statewide Democrat Party, aka the Dixiecrat. After the 1948 Democratic National Convention, the states' rights held their own convention to nominate some Truman and voting a right. Prior to the own states' rights Democrat Party convention, it was not clear whether the Dixiecrat would seek to feed their own candidate or simply try to prevent silent electors from voting for Truman. The press predicted that if the Dixiecrat did nominate ticket Benjamin Thomas Dewey, the Arkansas governor, would be the presidential nominee, and stormed Truman of voting outright to be vice president. Later he traveled to Birmingham during the convention, but he refused, like the other votes in 1916. Thurman himself had doubts about a third-party bid, but party organizers convinced him to accept the party nomination, refuting Wright as the running mate. Wright's supporters had hoped that Wright would lead the ticket, but Wright would defer to Truman, who had greater national stature. This election at Thurman received a lot of positive reviews from the national press. Afterwards, as Thurman had pursued a relative moderate policy on civil rights and not employed as freely used by other segregational leaders. The state's right Democrats did not formally declare themselves as being a new third party, but rather said that they were only recommending the state's Democrats parties vote for the Truman variety ticket. The goal was to win 127 electoral votes of the South, in hopes they would throw the election to the House of Representatives and the Vice President to the U.S. Senate. Once in the House, and then they hoped to throw the support to whichever party would agree to the segregation demands. Even if the Republican ticket won an outright majority of electoral votes, which was expected, the Dixiecrat hoped that a third-party run would help the South retake its dominant position in the Democrat Party. In implementing this strategy, the state's right Democrat faced a complicated set up election laws, with many different states having different processes for choosing presidential electors. The state's right Democrat eventually succeeded in making the Thurman White ticket the official Democrat Party ticket in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and South Carolina. In other states, they were forced to run as a third party ticket. In numbers greater than 6,000 that attended the first statewide Democrats held a Boston second convention in Oklahoma City on August 14, 1948, where they adopted the party platform which stated, "We stand for the segregation of the races and the racial integrity of each race, the constitutional right to choose one's associate, to accept private employment without government interference, and to earn one's living in any lawful way. We oppose the elimination of segregation, the repeal of misintegration statutes, the control of private employment by the federal bureaucrats, call for the misnamed civil rights program. We favor home rule, local self-government, and minimal interference with individual rights." We stand for the segregation. Okay, I'm gonna skip the ones in there. We stand for the segregation. Okay, hold on, wait. Of each race, the constitutional right to choose one's associates, to accept private without government interference, and to everyone's living in any lawful way. We oppose the segregation, the repeal of misintegration, the control of private influence, and called by the misnamed civil rights program. We favor home rule, local self-government, and a minimum interference in individual rights. The platform went on to say, we call upon all Democrats and upon other law Americans who are opposed to Dixiecrat plans at home and abroad to unite with us in against that word, defeating Harry S. Truman, Thomas E. Dewey, and every other candidate for public office who would establish a police nation in the USA. In 1948, Truman got 303, Dewey got 189, Storm Dewey received 39. Okay, I don't know why it's on it. So after the 1948 election, they collapsed. Truman acted to ensure that the Dixiecrat movement would not return to the 1952 presidential election. Some stubborn political figures, such as Linda Perez of Louisiana, attempted to keep it in existence in the districts, where it continued to defend racial segregation, but conceded that complete obsolescence along the lines of the 1948 departure from the Democrat Party would cause its home state of Mississippi to lose its standing with everybody in America. Former Dixiecrat received some backlash at the 1952 DNC, but all stars and delegates were seated after agreeing to a party loyal pledge. Second-place Alabama Senator John Sparkman was selected as the Democratic vice presidential nominee in 1952, helping to boost priority in the South. So in the 1948 election, Storm Thurmond won that year. And this is the 1942 map. Outside for the Republican. The Democrats, the Dixiecrats are considered to have begun the weakening of the Democrat solid South. Arkansas is actually the only state from 1876 to 1964 to never vote Republican. Regardless of this power struggle within the Democrat Party concerning segregational policy, the South remained a strong Democrat voting bloc for local, state, and federal congressional elections, but not increasingly in presidential elections. But the Eisenhower won several Southern states in 52 and 56. T. Coleman Andrews received only 0.2% of the popular vote, running as the presidential nominee of the States' Rights Party. The 1960 election, Nixon won several Southern states, and while Harry S. Byrd actually received Mississippi and Alabama. He received all of Mississippi and 6 of Alabama. 5 went to Kennedy. In 1964, Barry Goldwater won all 4 states that Truman carried in 48. Nixon and Wallace won every former Confederate state except Texas. Wait, either one. They eventually left Thurmond eventually left the Democrat Party and joined the Republican Party, charging the Democrats with having abandoned the people and having repudiated the U.S. Constitution. He subsequently worked on the presidential campaign. Within the next few decades, a realignment took place where most conservatives and racial conservatives included migration to the Republican Party, with liberals on the same issue going to the Democrats, resulting in more hatred national platforms. The Southern states subsequently shifted over time to voting mainly Republican, with the Northeast shifting to voting mainly Democrat. By the early 2010s, statistician and political analyst Nate Cohn wrote of the demise of the Southern Democrat. And we're almost done, so hang on. Presidential election results. So 1948, Storm Thurmond, feuding over 1,174,930, 2.41%, 39 votes, plus 39, Democrat victory. The next 2 slides is the ending in the gallery, and this is our progress so far. Also, don't ask me why it's sound is Confederate flag. I hope we got into the 4th episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.